Hello. Welcome back, Josh.
What's up, Karlie? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm hyped that got made it through med search.
Yay. How was it? Like, how was everything towards the end and stuff?
It was good. I ended up getting an A minus, which at
Nice.
the beginning I didn't think I was gonna get anything close to like that. So, but
That's
it was
so
definitely
awesome.
a grind.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, dude, it's a tough um class. Like, I mean, I feel lucky that I mean, you had Sarkeesian too, didn't you? Right?
At what's her name? Not sure. Keys. Garcia.
Oh, Garcia. Okay. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you had my friend's class teacher. Um, yeah, it's God, dude, it's so much. Like that class itself is just a lot of information. So, I mean, I can understand why some people struggle with it, and I lost quite a few friends to that class. So, um, yeah, I get what you mean there. It's not easy, but congratulations, you did
Yeah.
it.
I couldn't have done it without like a lot of help.
Oh,
Definitely
good.
had to
Well, I'm
reach
glad.
out to a lot of people. It was definitely the most I've ever tried in a class so far.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just wait till this class, then you'll be like, "Oh, wow, med surg was a
Yeah.
breeze."
So
Who do you
I'm
who do you
I feel
have,
like I'm
Josh?
mentally ready for the grind now that like I've had that first obstacle, like where I had almost a mental breakdown of last term, but now I know what
Who
it takes.
who do you have this term?
I have I was supposed to have Desalinas for physical assessment, and then now I have Lynn for that class,
Okay.
and then now I have Metalberg for mental health.
Yay! I love it. Wait, did I go into your class? It was your class that I went into on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sweet.
I
Awesome. I'm
like
so excited.
the vibe of the class so far. It seems more upbeat than
Good.
most of the other classes I've been into.
Awesome. Yeah, and like I said when I popped into your guys' class, that class is 100% what you make it. I mean, and that translates to any class, period. But with his class specifically, we were probably his best class that he'd had in a while. I think he'd said because we were so high energy. We all like cracked jokes the whole time, but like still focus on the material, obviously. But man, it can be such a fun class. He's an incredible instructor. So is Tan. Like I had some friends over from West Coast, and we were like, just hi Anna. We were joining the tutoring and stuff, and he was cool too. So I mean, no matter what instructor you get, I'll tell you all right now. I know I'm probably going to repeat this again, so just bear with me here. But they share tests, like they use each
Yeah,
other's. Um, I know he told you that because I kind of heard part of your beginning of lecture and stuff. So just be ready. Oh my God, I'm so glad I get to see you guys. This is so great. I've never seen you, Josh. It's been like 2 years too. Get on the screen. Hi, Nathan. I'm Karlie. Hi, Anna. I'm Karlie. Um, so yeah, I mean, they all share. They share material. They go over questions that everyone covers. So I don't want to tell you like you have to know everything and like you have to read the whole book and this and that. Like, of course you have to read certain things and you have to study, but you do not have to go page by page into the whole mental health textbook because that thing it'll make you crazy. Like you'll read like 10 pages and be like, what the heck did I just read? It is so confusing. Um, so yeah, don't be feeling like you have to go through all of that. But
Use the
I
ATI book.
logged what?
Did you ever use the ATI book?
Mm, okay, so I used it when studying for the proctored exam. Just because the ATI to me is kind of like a bullet point study guide, in my opinion. Like it goes through like, here's schizophrenia, here are the meds for it, here are certain side effects. The main things to look for, I'll like kind of help you guys along the way, but like with schizo and things like that, it's mostly your positive and negative symptoms and like knowing which ones fall in. I think that's like your guys' next week's lecture, so I won't go like too far into that. But I don't know why this thing has a waiting room now. Usually you can all just get straight in, but now I'm like admitting people one by one. This is so weird. Anyways, I'll have to try to fix that in the PALS site. But anywho, ATI is, for me, it was specifically helpful for the proctored exam with going over things that I wasn't so comfortable with. Like, I'll tell you right now, all of the fudgesicles, what are they called? It's the defense mechanisms. Hi. Those are super, super huge on most of your exams, the proctored, etc. So when it comes to those types of things, your ATI is going to be very, very helpful for you because it'll help kind of break those things down as simply as possible. So I'll let you know which chapters are going to be more important for ATI. Like this one, your first chapter, which should be like legal and ethical, bioethics, resilience, diathesis, stress model, DSM-5, ICD-10. The hell else was covered this section? Oh, 5150, 5250, LPS conservatorship, all that kind of stuff. I don't think I really used ATI for it because this should be the easier test of what you're going to take. So don't be too stressed. Don't be too like freaked out about this one. If you pay attention to lecture, then you'll probably be fine for this exam. Like, I don't think anyone failed the first, well, maybe they did. I don't know. I don't really know who failed the first one, but just pay attention to lecture for like this first one. And then we'll go over some things in here, whatever you guys have questions on and stuff, and go from there. But I'm so happy to see you guys. I feel like it's been so long. It's only been like 3 weeks, I think, since I tutored, but it feels like forever. So super stoked. And hello, Angie. Welcome in. And Monica. So I'll go ahead in about like 2 minutes. I'll put the QR code up. Has anyone here not been to PALS ever? Is this like your first time at PALS?
This is my first time.
Cool. Yay. I started in PALS, well, like not tutoring, but like a student for PALS back when we were still on campus, and it seriously saved my whole butt in like patho and stuff. It is such a cool system because one, if you get a tutor who took like really good notes, like for me personally, you know, they give you like a scratch paper for the exams and stuff. I'm the kind of person who's like writing notes down and like, oh shoot, okay, this topic or this, you know, genre of disorders or questions, whatever. So hopefully that's how most people kind of work. So if you have questions, maybe let's say you pull something from the book and it may not actually be relevant, I can kind of help like steer you towards what's more relevant. But PALS is awesome, usually. I mean, like, I can't speak for everyone, hi. But definitely in my experience, I've gained a lot and I feel like I've helped give a lot for PALS. So definitely come as much as you can. I guarantee you these sessions will not hurt you. They will only like help you in this class. So no matter who your teacher is, they all work together. So this information is going to come up one way or another. But does anyone have any questions for me in the meantime about anything not necessarily content related?
I have a quick question. How long is usually your PALS tutor? Because like technically I'm in skills lab right now, but I finished everything ahead of time to attend this. So I was just wondering.
I'll be here till 4. So these are 2-hour sessions. I always do the whole time. And if there's no one after me, sometimes I'll like trail on like another 5-10 minutes. And I asked them during like our tutor meeting and such, I said, okay, well, last term we had kind of an issue, Joshua probably remembers. The videos didn't get posted the week that I did the tutoring, which was kind of a problem for people because like, let's say someone couldn't make it in and, you know, then they didn't have the video to watch. And so it's kind of like a snooze you lose type deal. Like if you didn't come, you didn't get the information. I think they were all posted like week 7 or week 8 or something right before finals. So like that was okay. but I verified with them that they will all be posted, hopefully. I mean, like, cross our fingers, because everything, you never know. But supposedly they're all gonna be posted during the weekend. So like sometime this coming weekend they'll be posted. I know you guys test probably what, like Wednesdays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Wednesdays is class time, I think, for everyone, right? I want to say something like that.
Classes on
Wednesdays.
Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday.
Okay. All right. So hopefully that's how it's going to work. So maybe even for like the midterm, you guys can watch these videos again and kind of go over all the material that I cover. And the way I like to do it with my sessions in particular, I'm not going to just like sit here and wait for you guys to ask questions, because that's just a waste of everyone's time. However, in the beginning, I want you to ask as many questions as you can. If there was like something that you highlighted from your notes, or like a topic that you want to go into further, or things that maybe you don't have the best grasp on, we can always cover those first. So I'll usually try to like jot down a list and have everyone write in the chat box, like, what topics are you most, like, I don't want to say deficient on, but like, you know, ones you need like more help on. And we can always kind of go through those in like some kind of order or whatever first. Or if you have any specific questions, we can cover those. And try to create a dialogue, kind of like in class. If you don't ask questions and if you don't talk back, if I'm asking you questions and you're not answering, you're not really going to get that much out of it. So, be involved. This can be really fun. I was like cracking up with people all last term. It was such a fun med-surg tutoring back when I did that last term. So I hope that this one, you guys seem like a great group already. So I'm like super stoked. But just to, I guess, before I put up the QR code, give you like a brief lowdown on me. I am an intermediate med-surg. I almost tutored med-surg again because I was like, oh shoot, mental health is like a lot. And it's a whole ton of information. I don't want to look dumb here sitting like, oh shoot, do I know the answer to that? So I'll never just like blurt something off. I don't know it. I'll tell you like, hey, not quite sure about that. Let me look it up. But I loved mental health. Everything about it was so interesting. It is very tough. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy. You do have to study more than you've probably ever studied for another class before. So I'll let you know that. Med-surg was a lot, and I stressed out during med-surg, but this term, I think because of how everyone portrayed it in the beginning, they're like, oh my gosh, mental health is so hard. So many of my friends failed. Everyone's repeating this, and that. I heard all those stories and I was like, oh my gosh, like this class is gonna suck. I'm screwed. And I was super scared. And then once I actually realized, okay, it's not that bad. Like, put work into it. Just memorize your meds because they come up on your exams a lot. It's not that bad. Just spend the time that's necessary on it. But all my classmates, you know, a lot of them, well, not all of them, but like a lot of them struggled, and a lot of them, you know, had a hard time. And I kind of did sometimes too. Like, I'd get like a 84 on a test and I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. But, you know, you come back, and I went on vacation every weekend. So I kind of did that to myself. I was like, try not to go on vacation so much.
I think it's the same with med-surg, because med-surg for me was really, really hard. That was tough. My mental health was just like, whoa. But I think it's just like the work that you put in sometimes too. And instead of like focusing on that professor, it's just, you just want to focus on the work you do and what they give you, and just use that as best as possible, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you can literally do anything. And I'm the kind of person who I can't sit still. And I take medication for my ADHD. So like, I haven't taken it today. So if I'm like a little extra hyped today, that's kind of why. But you can do anything that you set your mind to. This class is not gonna be that difficult if you really like apply yourself. So with that being said, yes, intermediate med-surg. My clinical is at Palmdale Regional, and I will be on site this term, which I'm so stoked about. Like, finally get to go to clinical. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I live in a condo in Santa Clarita with my boyfriend, and we're just chilling out here. So anywho, I'll give you guys the code now. So let me share my screen. If you've never logged in to a PALS tutoring, all you do is you're going to open up your camera. You are going to, where the hell is my code? You're going to just kind of like put it over this code that I'm going to share wherever the heck it is. Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen and then we'll go to it. There it is. Can you guys see that? Oh, I can't hear you because I can't see your chat.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. So just open up your camera, put it on this code, and then it'll have you sign in, I think with like your name, maybe your ID number, like the time that you're attending. So if it says like 1400 to 1600, or if it actually says 2 to 4 or whatever, if you're not going to be here the whole time, you don't have to put the whole time, but it's kind of like up to your discretion. And that's just to show that you guys were here. And then that way they're not like, oh, wow, Karlie, you must suck because like no one's coming to your tutoring sessions. What's going on? So I'll leave this up here for a bit.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I'm right late. I was running a little, I went a little over when I scheduled my other class for tutoring.
Was that someone's teacher?
And let me just make sure I get everybody's names here for attendance.
That ain't me talking, FYI.
And then it looks like, okay, Andy is already here. Okay, let me just put this for attendance.
Okay. Whose teacher is that? Is that Skills Lab for somebody? Oh no, because it's Nathan, you're in Skills Lab, and that wasn't you because your mic's not on. Okay. I don't care. It really does. It doesn't
How do you
bother
spell
me.
your
Guys,
name?
I'm so sorry because Lim is tutoring at the same time, so I have both on.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
My bad.
PA is a cool class. Don't worry. Let me stop this for a hot sec. My name's Karlie. It's Karlie, if that helps.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I spelled it right.
Yeah, no worries. And I'll go ahead and put in here too. Where's my, oh, there it is. Oh, now I can get the chat box. Where is this? Sorry, I'm like so beyond technologically deficient. Like it's not even funny. So bear with me here. I'm gonna go ahead and put my personal and my school email in here. So if you guys need to reach me, I check both every single day, at least twice a day. So it really doesn't matter to me which one you email. But I'm gonna put both in here before we start, just so you guys can have those in case you ever need to reach me. I still have people from last term emailing me and all that. Delina, just write your email in the chat box and I'll email you the link, okay? That way you can open up in your laptop later and use your phone to check in. No worries. Just remind me because I'm really bad with remembering stuff, guys. Sorry. I'll do my best. And then I'll put my cell phone in here too in case you guys need it, okay? Because I'm way faster responding via text. So there's that. Please don't call me. I hate phone calls. As I'm sure most of us do. You're like in the middle of something or class. I actually called my friend because she's asking about like the core requirements and she's like, girl, you called me during my Zoom session. I was like, my bad. So yeah, there's that for you guys. Is everyone checked in on the QR code besides people that I need to email? All good? If not, I'll open it up again like before the end of this, so don't even worry about it. But I will take that down for now. Okay, so I'm not gonna make you guys do that whole awkward introduce yourselves to each other because like that just gets, we do that enough in class. Trust me, I get it. So welcome everyone and thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to have this group right now. Mental health is going to be a blast because we can make it a blast. So first and foremost, let's just verify exactly what you guys covered this past week. I'm going to name a few topics and you just let me know if there's anything else that you covered that maybe I don't have on here. I screenshot those emails too so I can send that. So let's see. I'm just going through my notes because I obviously took notes, which is why I passed the class. Hint, hint, take notes. So what we covered my first week, hopefully this matches yours, stuff about resilience, diathesis stress model, your LPS or Lanterman-Petrus short conservatorship, let's see, there's a bunch of other stuff like NAMI and Mental Health Parity Act. You're not going to see those unless your teacher like decides to throw a whole whirlwind, but I don't think it's going to be on there. DSM-5, ICD-10, NANDA, obviously we all already know what NANDA is. Therapeutic milieu, or I call it milieu, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. So just like your environment, right? Legal and ethical guidelines, and that lists everything from like bioethics to like civil rights of patients. Then we have like your involuntary admissions, like what are the qualifications for that? Restraints, torts, laws, and then like a bunch of stuff about Freud and Erickson, Peplau, Palvor, all that kind of stuff. Cognitive behavioral therapy and such. Does that all sound familiar? All right, cool. Oh, and I have a good review here too. Ooh, it's about to be a good week, guys. Shoot. Okay. So all of that. Oh shoot, someone's asking me via message. See, I'm telling you guys, people text me because they watched my tutoring last time. So we just asking if tutoring is today. It's today. Let me. Okay, cool. And okay, I know it's super weird because they have not. Did they email out the codes to you guys, or how did you get this code? How did everyone get here?
From our group chat, to be honest.
Okay, from another student.
Another student, yeah.
Dude, I'm so shocked that I have like 10 of you in here from a group chat. I'm like impressed with the group chatting system. I'm going to, oh, I have another person in the waiting room. Okay, admit. I don't know why there's a waiting room. Usually just like lets you guys in. Like I would sometimes come to the tutoring and there's people here before I'm here. I usually try to be on time. I was only late once and that was because I was coming back from a dentist appointment and I was all messed up. So like, should be fine. I also just posted this on my Facebook that I help with. So if you want that Facebook, message me via text. And there hasn't been an email for PALS this term, I don't think either, because someone else told me the same thing. So speaking of that, I'm going to email my girl Zoe here real quick so she can get in too, because I had Facebook open first. Oh, wait, no, she's in my messages. I was messaging people from Facebook too to get them in here because I posted it on the page because a lot of people hadn't gotten it yet. And it's so frustrating. Oh shoot, there's another one. Okay. So anywho, I'm going to try to make sure this is out there. I know I gave the email to Middleburg, but I don't think he had messaged it to you guys yet. Oh my gosh, did they just email it? They just emailed it. Did you guys get that email on your West Coast
Yeah,
account?
I just got one right now too.
Okay, let me text her. That's really late, so I apologize. Emailed to your school email. Don't worry about this week. I know we're like 15 minutes kind of behind. This won't be like this every day. Usually I'm very like, as soon as 5 minutes hits, like we start rolling into topics. So this one's kind of a little different, but it's okay because we can talk and get to know each other. So anywho, it shouldn't be like that moving forward. I know it's a little late. They sent it out, but we'll still have plenty of time to cover all the material from this first week because it's not that much. This should not be a hard test for you guys. Does everyone have the, sorry, this sparkling water is like choking me up right now. Does everyone have the mental health success book, the PDF?
Yes. Teresa
Yeah,
mailed it to us, I think.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she did too. I know she said she was going to. She mailed it to us last time. That book is going to come in handy for sure for you guys. I'm not going to tell you directly like they're going to pull questions from it because they won't be exact regardless. But do yourselves a favor and go through that book. All right. Um, I don't think it is kind of helpful when it comes to like Erickson and Pavlov and like all those dudes, you know, and their like different theories and stuff. So if you're like me and you get names confused really bad, that's going to be helpful to you. And also for restraints, ATI book. Oh yeah, we were talking about that earlier. So with the ATI book, it's kind of like a, how do you say this? It's like a guideline, like a really good kind of study guide for your information. So if you want to use the ATI book as kind of like a reference for your basic information, that's cool. So I was explaining earlier when it comes to like the defense mechanisms that you guys will learn, I want to say like next week and the week after, it will be helpful for sure, because those can get really confusing to people. Like people mix up like suppression, repression, regression, projection. There's a lot. I don't want to like overwhelm you with the terms right now. But when it comes to those kinds of things, it can help kind of break it down for you in like a simple and logical way. So I would say ATI is a good like supplement to your lectures because it can kind of condense the information for you. And then I have like the Level Up RN, like Kathy Parks cards and things, which are kind of like, so for example, they look like, I don't cut mine out and make them into like whole things, but like I'll make notes or like highlights. I tabbed a lot of them. Like for instance, this is defense mechanisms, which I had a really, really hard time with personally, until like, I want to say the third test, until I finally like got it through my head. So these kind of helped me a little bit, especially with the proctored as well. Similar to the ATI book, it's more of a guideline. Like your teachers will ask more in-depth questions. So like if you're talking about, you know, let's say select all apply question for involuntary admission. Like what could qualify for an involuntary admission? And you have all these different options. Or when can you administer medication against a patient's will per se? Like what do you need to have? And it's either like, you know, an LPS, danger to self or others, or maybe they have someone overseeing their care, you know, like they're in charge of the patient via, what the crap is that called? Not conservatorship, that's LPS. You know what I'm talking about. Oh no, who's emailing me now? Shoot. Okay, they emailed again in the same pal's email. What is that? Oh, it's the same thing. Okay, so you probably just got a duplicate email just now about the schedule. Anywho, what professor do you have? Oh, I had Middleburg. So I had Middleburg, and I'm gonna tell you right now, like I told everyone in the beginning too, they all use each other's exam. Like 90% of the time, my exam said GM/TAN. Like, yeah, swear to God. So, and we had a test with like Logan's name on it, and I didn't even know there's a professor named Logan in this campus, but apparently that's a thing. However, regardless of who you have, it's the same content. They just explain it a little differently. So like with Middleburg, when we talked about schizophrenia, schizoaffective, schizotypal disorders, all of those kinds of things, we didn't put them in clusters. So like when you guys learn it, if you're in TAN's class, you may see cluster A, B, C, and they all have different disorders that go underneath them. My teacher didn't do that, but regardless, we learned the signs and symptoms and whatnot of the disorder anyway, so we didn't really need it. And I had friends, half of my study group was in Tan's class. Oh, James Marissat, my friend had her too. So I had a friend in her class that was in my study group. I had 3 friends in Tan's class in my study group, and I had 2 friends in Middleburg, plus me. So what I'm going to be tutoring on is not just from my class, it's from every single class. So don't let that like scare you or deter you or anything. Everyone was in the same thing. So you'll be fine. And I think it's good because I do have, like, we all studied together and we all studied the material that each of our teachers had. So I know a pretty good amount of everything. I'm just not very good with the clusters because I learn them differently. But don't worry about that till like next week. So like I mentioned earlier, I did not take any of my medication I was supposed to take today. So if I get off track, please like guide my little Dory brain back to reality and we'll be good. So with that being said, intro med surg was, yeah, it actually was. It was very professor specific. So I had Sarkeesian last term or 2 terms ago for med surg, and she was very different from like, well, her and Garcia were kind of similar, but different than like, was it Baltazar or whoever else was in there? I don't know. They're all, med surg was a weird one, guys. Like, and thank God, I don't know if anyone was in Middleburg besides, I think Josh was in there and Angela was there when I went to his class this weekend or past week. But I mentioned that the proctored exam you guys took last term, which probably made you want to rip your whole head off, it is not that bad this term. Yeah, that's a good thing, right? Everyone's like, woo, thank you, Lord. Not gonna be that bad. I think I got an 86 on the mental health proctored, and I'm also very transparent. I'm not gonna lie to you guys and tell you I did better or worse on anything. Like, I'll give you straight numbers. I got an 86 on the proctored. I got a 95.7 in the class. So it's, and the reason I say that is so like you guys can see it's completely possible. I know people who got A's in TAN's class. I know people who did very well. It's just what you put into it. So real quickly, before I continue going into the material, I know everyone's asking about what you use to study. So I'm just gonna quickly go over that. We talked about ATI. ATI is your guideline. Use ATI, it won't hurt you, it'll help you. 100 billion million %, please go over Teresa, the NCLEX specialist's quizzes. Like, dude, if you guys don't do that, like, you did it to yourself. Like, if you get a bad grade on a test, that's your own fault, because her quizzes are so helpful. I'm not saying they're gonna be the same level of difficulty as every question you're gonna have in the exam, but they will 100% help guide you. So use her NCLEX quizzes or whatever. I didn't go through, oh, Zoe's here. Oh, good, she made it. I did not go through, hold on. Hi Zoe, welcome.
Hi.
I didn't go through all of the, you know how you can search questions? Everyone knows how to search questions in like 3.0, RN 3.0, right? Where you can search topics and stuff. If anyone doesn't, write it in the chat box that you don't know how now, and I can explain that, because that is crucial to a lot. So yeah, let me know if you don't know how to do that. Basically, okay, so what you would do, I'm gonna do like a really quick, it's only gonna take like 2 seconds. I'm gonna share my screen and go through it real quick with you guys so you can see what I'm talking about, because it is going to help you so much. Okay, so let me get out of this. New tab, new tab, new tab. Okay, so ATI. All right, so what you're gonna do, log into ATI. Watch me have like a horrible test grade up here. Okay, now we're good. Can you imagine? I log on, you're like, oh my God, 27%, Karlie, you suck. All right, so my ATI, then you go into, I think it's improve. It's not improve, it's test. I can't remember. No, it's test. Okay, go into test. So ATI test tab, if this thing decides to load anytime today. Okay, and then learning system RN 3.0. All right, so go into quizzes. And this screen will pop up and it gives you dynamic or adaptive or quiz by category. I just click adaptive every time. I don't know, you probably click quiz by category too, it doesn't matter. Because it's what you type in here that's gonna matter. So we're in mental health, right? So you go down to the mental health questions. You can either do this. It's showing 386 because I already did some, which clearly I didn't do all of them. If you were to click all right here, that'll give you all the questions. So, oh man, I didn't do very many from here. I thought I did a lot more than that. Anyways, all right. So mental health, you can either click that button and then go down. Don't ever do it in test mode when you're practicing questions, guys, because it's just a pain in the butt. Just go to study review mode because it'll give you the rationales. And then you can type in how many questions you want and then just press create exam and it creates you an exam with that many questions. All right, if you don't want to do that, another great one I like doing is going into the search bar right here. So like, let's say we have topics for mental health. Oh, and also don't click these. PN is like an LVN. You don't need that. Just leave it on RN. So like, let's enter a word or a topic. Let's say, that's funny, my teachers are on there. Let's say like DSM-5. We're just gonna put DSM just for the sake of, let's see what it comes up with. Okay, didn't come up with anything. Let's try schizo. All right, so 55 questions. You can press select all and then create an exam down here and it can create that exam for you. All right, so this is good. It's a great tool for studying. Like if you're not very good with like, let's say like anorexia, you can type that in and get anorexia questions, okay? So if, like I said, when you're going through stuff and topic specific, right, and you don't really feel comfortable with that information, I did have Artunian, yeah. He's easy, he's so fun. But yeah, that's how it goes. So super easy, guys, if you have like questions on certain topics and you wanna get a little more information, I would do that. That's the simplest way for you to get that information. And if you have Hartunian, Danielle, he is super funny. And tell him stories that you encounter on 7 Cups and he'll be like your best friend. Cool. All right, so now that everyone's good on that, that was a way that I thought I studied more with that, but I think it was because when I'm on Zoom with my friends, yeah, no problem, guys. Oh, you're going to clinical? Oh, he's probably so excited. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy for you. Don't be nervous. He's so chill. So what the heck was I just saying? Okay, so questions. So you guys, I'm like a little like off today. So with the questions, my friends and I, when we were on Zoom, we would share screens with each other and we would go through ATI questions. We'd have like the back of the book questions. And we'd set a timer because our quizzes are timed, right? We'd set a timer for 60 seconds and we'd all answer or like get our answers ready in the chat box. And then once the timer was at like 10 seconds or whatever, when everyone's done, we'd say, okay, go. And we'd all put our answers in and like check them at the end. So do that with your friends, do that with like your study group and stuff, like quiz each other, do the quizzes together, do Teresa's quizzes together. And that'll help you too. So, oh my gosh, I can't believe there's so many people in here when everyone like just barely got this. I'm so excited for you guys. So that's how I studied with my friends. That's how I studied for most of my exams. Also, depending on when your lecture is, this is going to kind of depend on when you rewatch the lecture, but 100 million billion % rewatch your lecture at least the night before or the day of your exam. And go back in and like annotate your notes, highlight stuff that maybe you didn't realize your teacher emphasized the first time. And that was helpful to me. What else did I do? And I would do that like laying out by the pool. I'd be sitting by the pool with like my notebook, just like straight chilling, writing, you know, notes and stuff, because that was just how I studied best. But definitely rewatch your lecture because teachers use each other's questions and like collaborate with each other, but they don't always have the same exact exams. So look at what your teacher's saying. And also don't be discouraged. Don't be frustrated if you don't get a very good grade. I know a friend who, I'm talking like 50, 60% bombed the first 3 exams and still passed with like a B+. So do not let those things discourage you. Sometimes the professor just is trying to get a feel of the group and you might get a little screwed on an exam. So just don't don't let that hurt your feelings because it happens. And then for everyone who joined like a little later, I'm going to put the QR code up probably around 3-ish, 3:30-ish. So don't worry about signing in at this moment. I'll get it later. Which is kind of good actually that we didn't get into too much content until about now. So yes, ATI, use it as a guideline. Rewatch your lectures at least once. And if you're going to watch it only once, please watch it the day of your class or the day before your class. NCLEX quizzes. Every single week, you better be doing those because it's going to help you so much. The book, the only thing I ever, and I mean ever, touched the book for was questions in the back of each chapter. That's it. I did not use the book at all. Like, not even once. I didn't look at anything. So, be glad. I mean, maybe your teacher's different. I don't know. My friend who wasn't doing so hot for a while was really reading the book a lot. And then he's like, dude, that was useless because there's just so much information in it. You cannot decipher all that into like normal people terms in the amount of time that you have because we are so busy. It's not even funny. So use the book for the questions. And then, like I mentioned earlier, your success book is going to be kind of like your saving grace because those questions are very difficult. If you've looked at them already, like has anyone looked at them yet? Okay, so if you have, for sure. So those success book questions are going to be more difficult than some of the questions you're going to see on your exam. And then some of them you're going to be like taking an exam and thinking, where the heck did they pull this question? Like this makes no sense to me. So be ready for anything because you can get anything on these exams. And I'll also tell you right now, you don't have to know all the material if you can critically think well enough to figure out what they're really asking and then what the right answer could be. Like, for example, our final, oh my God. Wow. So don't expect the final to be any easier and don't expect a lot of repeat questions because it's not going to happen. Yeah. And there's med math on there, like super weird med math. Like take Swift River and multiply it by like 10. Weird med math, okay? So I'm not trying to say that to like make you scared or anything. It's not that bad because it's like weird critical thinking questions and stuff or like titration stuff. But you've never seen it before. You've never gone over it in lecture. You'll be like, why are we being tested on this? I never saw it. However, you're not being tested on the math necessarily. You're being tested on, can I critically think if this patient is receiving 50 milligrams of lithium the first week and the goal dosage is 150. Second week, they up it 50 PO, QAM and QPM. Like it's like weird stuff like that. Like you're adding 50, then the next week it's 50 plus 75. The next week it's 50 twice a day plus this, you know? It's stuff like that where it's not hard. You just take, okay, it took them 3 weeks to get to the required dosage, 3 weeks, 7 days in a week. 7 times 3 is 21. The fourth week is when they get the required dosage. That's day 22, right? I know like that probably doesn't make any sense to anyone right now. You're like, girl, what are you talking about? But it's simple stuff. You just have to critically think. And that's the same with a lot of questions. You may not know the material exactly, but if you can think of like, okay, they're giving these kinds of symptoms and asking about this medication's effect on those symptoms. Like, which one is the worst? A lot of times you're like, is a seizure worse than a coma? Like, and it just makes sense. So anywho, if that made any sense to you guys, cool. If not, sorry. But let's get going because I feel like I'm wasting time. So like I said in the beginning, if anyone has questions, bring them on now. You can absolutely use your microphones. I love to see your faces. You don't have to show your face, but it's cool. I like seeing you guys. It feels more personal. In school, we'd be seeing each other face to face. So, hey. So anywho, if anyone has any questions, feel free to verbally state them or type them into the chat box. I don't care which way you want to go. It's cool. So let's start with that first, or any topics that you feel you need some help on first? Let me grab my pen.
Can you talk about involuntary admission, please?
Okay, so there's multiple ways someone can get involuntarily admitted. There's 3 very specific abbreviations. Sorry, this sparkling water is really wrecking me right now. 3 very specific 3-letter, well, 2-letter and 2 3-letter abbreviations. Does anyone know what those are? 2 of them start with a D.
DTS and DTO.
DTS, DTO, and GD.
Perfect. Okay. So DTS, danger to self, DTO, danger to others, and GD, grave disability. So danger to self, you're suicidal, right? Like you are threatening to harm yourself. Could be verbally, could be like physically, you like maybe are cutting yourself or shot yourself. I don't know, things like that. Danger to others, you're threatening to hurt somebody else, right? And then grave disability, that's just like you can't take care of yourself. Like either you're physically, usually like mentally incapable of taking care of yourself, like gravely disabled. That's kind of your reasons for involuntary admission. And those usually will put you on like a 5150 hold. And what is the length of a 5150 hold, guys?
72 hours.
3 days.
Yep, exactly. 72 hours, 3 days, whichever one you want to use, that's exactly what it is. Usually that's what they can put you on. However, all 3 of those things can also qualify you for another kind of hold that's a little longer. Does anyone know what the next hold's length would be?
5250.
And how long is the 5250?
14 days.
Yep, so 2 weeks. There's one other one after that that is even longer, and it's for grave disability. Does someone know what that one is?
5270.
And how long?
30 days.
Perfect. Yep. So those are generally your types of holds and like why you put into those. Those are involuntary, right? So suicidal, homicidal, extremely disabled. So like you need like a short-term help or care. Yes, go for it. I see your hand raised.
How do you decide to go next level, 5250 from 5150?
Got it. So that is not even a nurse's decision. Like that's like the doctor or like psych order. So you would have to consult with the psychiatrist or the doctor, whoever is going to be deciding that. And they're going to assess the patient and see like, okay, are they improving? And with improvement, you have to be kind of wary because I remember a question where it's saying, oh, you know, patient came in 5150, danger to self, right? And, you know, the next day they were happy. They were talking to people in like the day room and totally kind of like 180'd in their mood, right? And it was kind of talking about like, oh yeah, they're ready to go. Like they're ready to be discharged. But that can be kind of fake. Like they can fake those things to get more privilege or, you know, get let out or something. And they're not actually ready for that. I forget what the exact question is, which is probably a good thing I did forget it because that would be giving you guys answers that would probably get me in trouble. But just watch out for those things because just because someone's improving doesn't always mean that it's real. Like they could be putting on a show for you. So in answer to your question, it's not your decision. It's someone who is a psychiatrist or like a doctor of whoever is seeing that patient that makes that final decision based on, you know, where they're at mentally and progressively. Are they seeing improvement? Are they going to go into a non-acute setting? So like a skilled nursing due process. Explain a little bit more about what you mean by that, Anna. Yeah, no problem. If that didn't answer your question too, let me know if there's anything more I need to add to that.
For the due process, isn't that the one for involuntary admission too? Where you're supposed to have like a long term or something?
Oh yeah, okay, so So I think what you're referring to is kind of almost like a Reese hearing, maybe possibly like if you're trying to like look into being able to like maybe medically treat them like with medication, or are you looking into like if they need to hold them longer, they have to go through like, you know, due process to make sure that they're able to be held longer. Is that kind of what you're talking about? I'm trying to think here.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a few different things we talk about with those. So like all hope, what you're talking about, I think is like every hold is able to go through a probable cause hearing. So like, let's say I'm the patient, I get admitted because my ex is psychotic and is like, oh, this girl's threatening to kill herself. And like, I get taken in, but I don't actually have an issue. He's a problem, right? Like I have the right to go through due process. Like I have the right to a probable cause hearing to kind of show my side of things. It's like, you know, because at that point it's hearsay before you get to that point. So those are entitled to everyone. It's just usually after, if I can remember this correctly, it's usually after that initial like 3 day. The 3 days kind of light. It's not like you're being like you're not getting all your rights taken away like significantly in that amount of time. It's not anything super serious. So generally I want to say it's if they're going to extend it and keep it longer. I'm sure if you made a fuss in those 3 days, they'd probably like, you know, get that to happen sooner. But generally I heard of it happening when they're trying to lengthen the stay to like, let's say a 14 or 30-day type hold. And then there's also that writ, W-R-I-T, of habeas corpus. And that's kind of like your right to go to court too. So probable cause, writ, which is like your right of to go to court, and then your medication capacity hearing, which is the RIESE, R-I-E-S-E, I think, R-I-E-S-E, RIESE, something like that. That's the one with, it's like a medication capacity hearing. Like, are you capable of making decisions to deny medications, or are you incapable of doing that? That's more of what that one is, if that helps. Does that kind of answer it, Anna? I don't know if I covered all of what you were asking for.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain more about the writ of habeas corpus? Like I was hearing him in lecture and all I wrote was like they bring in someone in court to talk about the patient that's being held. But I didn't really get like the whole purpose of.
Yeah, that one, to be honest, like you're probably not going to see it because all I have is that it's like a right to go to court and like discuss the patient's like state, right? Like, you know, why they're there, like if it's really valid, you know, so kind of having someone testify in a sense on behalf of them is kind of what I got out of it. I personally don't remember. You're not really going to see questions about that. Like, I hope, don't quote me on that, but you're more going to see like LPS, like Lanterman, Petrus Short, conservatorship. That one is a little more heavy. When it comes to probable cause hearing, writ, and RIESE is actually pretty important to the medication capacity. If you know that it's medication capacity hearing, you're probably okay with that one. But as far as the writ and the probable cause hearing, that shouldn't be anything that's gonna either one, be tested on or trip you up too much. It's just your right to go to court and defend yourself or have someone else help defend you, right? But your Lanterman and Petrus Short, I wonder if I have any flashy cards on this one because Middleburg talked a lot about that one, the LPS conservatorship. And that one in particular is where, like, I'm trying to think of like how best to explain that. It's like,
You said Britney Spears.
Yeah, Britney Spears. I forgot to use that. Yeah, so like how her dad makes all the decisions, right? Like he's a kind of conservative type person for her care. It's like the person's gravely disabled usually or something, and they can't make those kinds of decisions on their own. But he also mentioned like Britney's been under that for like freaking over 10 years or something wild since that whole, 2007 like head shaving incident. And that can be a little tricky because if that keeps getting renewed, and let's say she is mentally capable, if there's no one there to kind of like side with her, or if her dad is very convincing, let's say, then she could be stuck there. And that's not a good place to be. He controls all her finances, all of her medical decisions, her medication decisions. So someone is making all those decisions for you that has kind of been appointed. So it's a scary thing. Like, I don't want anyone to do that for me. Like, unless I'm in a freaking coma, then like, obviously I can't make my own decisions. But yeah, it doesn't sound fun. Not a good time. Poor Brittany. Let me try to think if I have anything else on that one, because I want to say that was more in like a select all that apply question for when can you administer medications to someone without their consent. That is one of those scenarios. The patient doesn't necessarily have to consent to that. If someone is in an LPS conservatorship position, they get to make those decisions. So I think if you know that, you're good too, right? All right, let's see what else we got here. Speaking of any of those, does anyone have questions on what we've gone over so far with either of those? Any of those? Ooh. Oh, and that person can put them on 5150 too, FYI. Like, if they want to be like 5150. Is it NURSIC? How do you pronounce that? I don't want to screw that up.
Yeah, NURSIC. Okay,
cool.
Or you could call me Nick. Everyone calls me Nick. It's easier.
Either way.
Actually, I had a question about the medications. In class, he mentioned thorazine, lithium, and haloperidol as his top 3 out of 5. I didn't get the other 2. I don't think he went over the other 2 for the top 5. He just mentioned those 3. I just wanted to know, like, is there any other medications we should focus on for the first test?
Yep. Well, I don't want to say for your first test, but maybe. So thorazine is chlorpromazine. So that one you're definitely going to see. Lithium, you are absolutely going to see. Please, for the love of mercy, look up lithium, look up all the levels, like the therapeutic ranges of lithium. And also with lithium in particular, once you get, past that, that like, I want to say like baby range, because in my head I'm thinking like baby range. But once you get past the therapeutic range, that first point extra 3 or so is like more mild symptoms. Then anything past that is your more severe, like your coarse hand tremors or, things like that. I don't know how much you guys went into that this week. So please, like, feel free to chime in on that. But definitely lithium is huge. Thorazine or chlorpromazine is big. And also do yourselves a big favor, and it's going to suck, and I'm sorry, but know the generic and trade names for each of these medications. And I'm not saying every single one. Like, we didn't talk about perfenazine or loxapine, or I'm just looking at like the antipsychotic. Oh, you guys all got this, right? Like your medication handouts from Doc Sharing Blog. Like, sorry, I have a lot of notes on it, but these antipsychotic medications, no? Okay. If you didn't,
haven't tried.
Okay. If you didn't get those, okay. If you didn't get them, I'm gonna rewrite it in here in the chat for everyone who came a little late. I know a lot of you already have my information. But if you don't, do yourselves a favor, write it down. Oh, no medications this week? Heck yeah. Who do you have? Is it Naoko? Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Professor D. I mean, Middleburg.
Oh, cool. I love him so much. Okay.
That's what he said. He said there's no medication questions this week. So.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing, because don't worry, I'll get plenty more to make up for it. So medications to know. I mean, I know it's not really relevant this week, but this week should be easy, guys. I'm telling you, like, don't let this first week stress you out. Just go over the lecture, go over the things that we cover here. You will be fine. Don't stress. And with that being said, go over what's going to come up next week, following week. Like obviously don't stress yourself with like too much of that information, but if you can start going over the medications that get posted in the doc sharing blog, I think it's doc sharing. Yeah, doc sharing. It's only going to help you because I told Middleburg's class on Wednesday last week, when he says go over these every day, go over them every day. I made that mistake and I didn't do that. And I could have done a lot better on the first couple exams if I had known the medications a little more. Because like I said, you can kind of quickly think about the answers and maybe guess the right decision 50 out of 50 if you narrow it down. But why not just know it in the first place, right? And just give yourself as a break. So with that being said, medications to know for sure will be chlorpromazine, also known as Thorazine. Okay, you don't need to know the dosage, you don't need to know the half-life, just know the medication, know the side effects. So that one's like a typical or like first gen antipsychotic. Know the side effects. Middleburg loves to talk about like funny things that they can relate it to. So with that first gen medication section, we talk about like Palm Springs, where it's like everything's super dry. So dry mouth, dizziness, like imagine being in Palm Springs, like you're just dying of heat exhaustion, right? So what would you do if you're in Palm Springs, right? And like you're trying to protect yourself. What, like, let's just talk about it. What do you think you would do if you're in Palm Springs? Like, what are you going to need on your skin?
Extra fluid.
What was that?
Sunscreen. Extra fluid.
Yep.
It was one of the questions on the API that we did, or no, the Swift River and the medication one, and it was stay away from exposed sunlight. That's all we got.
Exactly. So as much as I hate Swift River with a fiery burning passion, it actually does help you guys if you have it this term. Like it goes over all of these medications. And at first I like made a whole Word doc with all the answers on it. Like after I went through it the first time, I was like, I'm gonna get 100% on all this and not look at it again. And then I realized like, wait a second, these are medications I'm learning in class. Like I probably should do myself a favor and pay attention. So exactly what she was saying, sunblock, long clothing, hat, sunglasses, because you have photosensitivity. So things like that, if you can know the brand and generic name for like at least the major parts of those classes for medications, you'll be fine. Know the generic, trade, and then the side effects and what you can do to kind of like help it. Other ones to know, and I'm just gonna give you guys these to kind of write down if you want to take notes, cool. If not, whatever, it's up to you. You want to know Haldol or haloperidol. That's huge. I definitely saw fluphenazine on there. Fluphenazine, it's got a pH at the middle. And that's also known as Prolixin. What else do we have? Loxapine was on there, I remember. So that's L'Occitane is the brand name. So Loxapine, generic, L'Occitane, brand name. I'll always say generic first, if that helps you guys know what the heck I'm talking about. I know I saw this on there, but it was only like a one question thing, and who knows if we're gonna have it, but maybe. Same class here, it's trifluoperazine, and that's Stelazine, brand name. Trifluoperazine, Stelazine. And then also know that haloperidol and fluphenazine come in a depot like formulation, so like an IM injection. I want to say that was important too. Like IM administration, not all of them can be given in certain routes. So there's one starts with an N, I want to say. What is that one? It's a patch. It'll come later on, but there's certain ones that can be patch form, and there's certain instructions like hint, hint, take the patch off, throw it in the toilet and flush it. Okay. There's ones like that where you're like, what? Like it actually tells you to throw it in the toilet and flush it? Yeah, it does. So pay attention to what the route is for some of those that are specified. You do not need the route for every single one. You do not need the dosage for pretty much anything but like majorly lithium and stuff like that, because it's important for therapeutic ranges. So be very aware of what the teacher's telling you in class. If they're emphasizing the route, you better know the route. If not, don't worry about it. You're not going to need it. Okay, so haloperidol, fluphenazine. What else do we have? Oh, clozapine. Oh my gosh, yes. Clozapine, which is Clozaril. Please know that. Because that one's like increased sedation and like seizure risk, and also causes agranulocytosis. Does anyone know what agranulocytosis is? Dun, 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 dun. I know it's kind of like almost a med surgery type deal. Yes, in a sense. So it's like leukopenia, so like low white blood cell count. So in that kind of situation, if I'm low white blood cell count, what are you going to tell me to avoid, or what am I not going to be doing?
Being in large crowds.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So being in large crowds, being with people who are sick, things like that. So with clozapine and Clozaril, because it can increase that side effect, you don't want to be in those kinds of scenarios. So stay away from people who are sick, stay away from large crowds. And that's pretty important too. And hypersalivation, which is kind of trippy because with your first gen, right, you're all dried up. And with Clozaril or clozapine, you have hypersalivation, which is kind of like me right now because I'm thinking of ice cream, which I don't know why I'm thinking of ice cream. It just like sounds really good right now. So besides that, olanzapine, that's, I mean, realistically, that one's kind of just important because of the category it's in. So if you can just, I don't know if there's any mnemonics on it, to be completely honest, because I never learned any. I'm not really like a huge mnemonic person. Like even with people like the cranial nerves, like if you're in PA right now, I'm guessing. And so like there's mnemonics for all the cranial nerves. If you haven't learned it, that's the only mnemonic I learned because cranial nerves are very important for PA. If you already know it, awesome. You're already like a step ahead of the game. But I don't know if there's mnemonics for this, so sorry. So yeah, olanzapine is in that same atypical second gen antipsychotic category that's important. What else? Actually, we talked about everyone in that section. Ketapine, which is funny because Middleburg calls it quetapine, and it cracks me up because I'm in the hospital and I think of him saying quetapine in person, and I'm like, it's not pronounced like that in the hospital. But I love him. He's so awesome. So that's Seroquel. That's important. You'll see that. Risperidone and Risperidol. Luckily, those all sound pretty similar, like clozapine, Clozaril, Risperidone, Risperidol. A lot of them like that. Oh, no problem, Anna. Take care. This will be posted to YouTube, and if you have any questions, please make sure you took down my information so you can get onto that later and enjoy your other tutoring too with your PA. Oh shoot, I should probably, since I've done that first page of antipsychotics, I'm gonna give you a few more medications that'll be helpful for you next week. But before I do that, I'm gonna put up this QR code one last time for everyone who came in a little after the fact. So real quick, just pull out your cameras, log in. I'm gonna give you like a minute. That way everyone can sign in so they know that you guys were here. And it helps with my, I don't know what it helps with, honestly. It just shows that someone was here for my tutoring. So it'll help you. We'll just say that. Because trust me, guys, everyone who came last term, it was helpful. So please be here. It's not going to hurt you, I promise. All right. And I know you're probably like, why the heck are we going over these right now when we don't have to be tested on them this week? You are going to be tested so heavily on these medications throughout this term. I know it may not come up on your test next week, but this test should be easy for you relatively. So I'm not going to say just deal with it, but trust me, it's for your own benefit right now. Okay. Everyone good on this QR code? I'm gonna give you like 15 more seconds just to pull out the camera, throw it on that QR code, we'll be good to go. Wish I had like the Jaws theme song to just play in the meantime. All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. If everyone doesn't get it, go ahead and let me know at the end and I'll pull it back up again. All right, so we already covered, we were in the atypical second gen antipsychotics. Real quick, I'm gonna go over one more from this category because it's the only other one that's gonna really be necessary for you, and that's ziprasidone, also known as Geodon, which is so weird because I know those make like, I mean, the words don't really match, but ziprasidone or Geodon. That one, to know for that, EKG. It affects your cardiac status, right? So you're gonna need an EKG with that. And QT wave prolongation, I wanna say was the main part of that medication specifically. So yeah. What else? I wish I had that. I guess that patch one isn't really relevant for you guys right now because I don't even see it on here. But all those like certain ones like olanzapine, risperidone, clozapine, those come in like oral DIS tabs, like the disintegrating. So in Swift River, when you see DIS, when you're doing your medication passes, DIS means under the tongue. So sublingual, okay? You guys probably already know that. You're like, girl, please, come on, we're smarter than that. Anywho, access the worksheet. Yeah, email me or text me. And I'll scan you a copy.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It kind of has some writing on it, like just little side notes I put, which again, won't hurt you. And it's just the medication that the teachers give out anyway, so it's not like I'm breaking a rule here. You'll get it eventually, but if I can give it to you now and you can study ahead of time, awesome. So if you don't have it and you want it, go ahead and email me and or text me or whatever, and I'll give it to you. So yeah, ziprasidone, oral DIS tablets, olanzapine, risperidone, clozapine. That I guess could be helpful too if, let's say, your patient has dysphagia, right, which is difficulty swallowing. You could give the patient a disintegrating tablet, or maybe even like an IM injection, or any kind of other route. Like, it's good to know certain ones if the teacher talks about it. I think I only had like one. Like, it's not a make or break you on a test type of thing, but if you can know it, cool. If not, whatever. Third gen, ariprazole, yep, know that one. Ariprazole or Abilify, and that has the disc melt, so oral disintegrating. DIS, disc melt. Disintegrating tablet, same thing. Cool, so that has that. So ariprazole for sure, know that comes in a lot of different forms. And then, oh my gosh, okay, did they talk about did anyone say like the word like cocktail, or like what drug combination of 3 different things you can give to someone in an acute situation? Or is that maybe next week? Okay, that's next week. Never mind. I won't talk about it now. But it's Benadryl and like Cogentin and other stuff. You'll hear about it next week. We'll talk about it later. But anywho, so for the start, those are solid things to know for your upcoming exam and stuff. And I'm like, legit, guys. Okay, so let's just go over this, okay? Antipsychotics, 1, 2, there's another one. This SSRIs, so like your antidepressants in a sense, right? SSRIs, antidepressants, MAOIs, SNRIs, right? Mood stablers, antimanics, ADHD meds, anxiety, sleep disorders, and this is just alcohol withdrawal skill. So you will cover all of these, okay? And I'm showing you that because when I tell you, please do yourself a favor and study these medications every day. I'm telling you, like, I'm warning you, study them every day, because that's going to make up, like, I'm no joke, like 30-40% of your test is going to be medications for like your quizzes. So do that. And I thought I was really good with therapeutic communication. Apparently I wasn't, because mental health therapeutic communication is a little different. So go over those kinds of questions in your success book for whatever chapter. Doesn't even have to be the chapter you're in. Go over them, and that'll help you too. So enough of medications. That should keep you guys pretty on point for what you need to know medication-wise. Let's go back to, we had LPS. The first antipsychotic medication that was like on the market, does anyone know what the name of that one is? We covered it.
Was it the Thorazine?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't know if that was even a question, but he emphasized it a lot. So maybe if it wasn't a question for my class, it might be one for yours. So I would know it. Okay. Oh, diathesis stress model. Can someone kind of give me a little, oh, sorry, my email's going buck wild over here. Can someone give me a little kind of tidbit of what diathesis stress model kind of includes?
So like the diathesis stress model is like kind of the combination that helps identify like mental health. So the diathesis part is like genetics, like how prone are you to, like just genetic wise, like how prone are you to stress? And then the actual stress part to the model is like your environment, like how, like what actual stressors you have. So it's just like a combination.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly that. And what, oh shoot, is it Anahit? God, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm horrible with names. Correct me if I'm wrong. So exactly, do you call yourself Anna too?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, how do you pronounce it? I just want to get this right.
Anahit.
Anahit. Okay.
Like
oh, close.
Anahit.
Awesome. I love that. So exactly what you guys were saying. It's genetics and environment, or biological and environmental, which is also, like, you could call it like nature versus nurture, right? So what you're genetically, biologically, nature, whatever, kind of already predisposed to, like they call like, they say certain like dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that, like kind of have a genetic link to them. Oh my God, let me close out this email. Sorry, hold on one second. My volunteer program is like blowing me up right now too. Okay, apologies. So nature versus nurture, like what your genetics are doing to your mind, body, whatever, and what your environment's doing. So like if you're already genetically predisposed to schizophrenia or something like that, and your environment just fuels that kind of fire that's already there, or your drug habit or something else that can trigger that, you're more at risk. So just kind of know diathesis stress model, nature, nurture, biologic, environment, okay? And you'll be good. Also, Middleburg likes to talk about resilience. So it's no joke the reason we get through nursing school, okay? Like I mentioned with exams, if you fail an exam, right? You have to stay resilient, or like he likes to say, stay frosty, which I think is hilarious. He's like total dad joke. It's awesome. But you have to always overcome and be optimistic. Optimism is key with this one. Think test question, possibly, maybe. It's your optimism. It's your ability to rebound when given a challenge or a tough situation. What are you going to do personally to kind of overcome these things that are thrown your way in life? And so he says, yeah, ability, I'll read his definition. Ability and capacity to secure resources needed to support well-being, characterized by optimism, sense of mastery, and confidence. Well, that's pretty close to what I said. So yeah, just being optimistic and being able to say like, okay, yeah, I might have screwed up this test, but I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to be, you know, competent in what I'm learning next and do better the next time. When I got my first 84 on a quiz in his class, I was like defeated. Like, you guys don't really know me unless you were here for my tutoring last term, but I'm like very hard on myself with my grades. I know everyone says, oh, just pass nursing school, just pass. Well, I want to be a nurse anesthetist after this. Like, I can't just pass. I can't afford to just pass this course. I have to get A's. So, I don't have to, I'm not going to die if I don't get an A. But like, for me personally, that's what I need to do to get to my next goal. So when something like that happens, I can either take it and be like, oh my gosh, again, 84, I'm just gonna like drink my life away and like sit on the couch and eat bonbons all day, or like Yoo-hoos, or I don't know what people eat, like donuts. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. But, or am I gonna like go and be like, holy crap, I got an 84. Karlie, did you study those medications? No, you didn't. So like, do better next time, you know? Like, being able to overcome those things is what's gonna get you guys. I want to be a nurse anesthetist. So it's a CRNA. So I want to put people to sleep, you know, like knock them out, anesthesia. It's it can also be like you can get your DNP in conjunction with that, with this one program I was looking at, but Kaiser and right, it's a really, really well-paying job, which is super cool. But also I've had a lot of surgeries on my foot. I've also had like random stuff like my tonsils removed, my wisdom teeth removed, and other stuff, mostly my foot and like that kind of junk. But I've been to the hospital more times than I can freaking count. So for me, those people in the hospital were so, so crucial to my entire experience. So I want to do that for others too. But anywho, thanks for asking. So yeah, resilience. Funny story, real quick. I promise it'll be short. Don't mean to bore you guys. But I got a tattoo week 9. Not this one. This one I've had for like a hot minute. But I got a tattoo on my back of my niece's birth flowers. And I was like thinking of a quote that I wanted next to it that could, you know, just encourage them and like empower them, and something that I follow myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to sound so cheesy. And you're probably all going to laugh and be like, oh my God, girl, like what's wrong with you? But I legit got the script down my spine with the flowers that says "Stay resilient" on my spine. And I showed Mr. G, and he was dying. So yeah, I mean, you can't see it because it's like kind of hidden, but it's down the whole back past the flowers. So I'm like super passionate.
Sorry, I was actually, when I was reading the first chapter and I was reading the resilience, I was like, oh, I want to get that tattooed. So
Right?
I don't want to be a copycat.
No, do it, girl. Shoot, we'll all have it. I'm not scared. It means a lot. And like, this program isn't easy. And I know I probably talk like far too much, guys, so I do apologize. But things like that, you know, that can empower you, as cheesy as it sounds, like motivating yourself and telling yourself like, okay, I can do it. It actually does work. It sounds stupid and you're probably like, oh my God, all right, whatever. But it works. So resilience, diathesis stress model. What else do we have? Oh, DSM-5. Okay, so question for you guys. Stay frosty. Oh my God, if I would have gotten that, game over. DSM-5, can that like diagnose, like can nurses use that to diagnose a patient disorder?
I think the nurses should use NANDA, but he said the DSM-5 is for, I think it's just only for, it's used to identify mental health disorders, but not diagnose, if I heard correctly.
So it's used by professionals to diagnose. So that was kind of like a shady question for you guys. It can diagnose, but when I said nurses diagnose, no. Like it's NANDA, exactly what you're saying. NANDA is the one that nurses can use for nursing diagnosis, priority or at risk. But DSM-5 is for providers. So can it recommend pharmacological treatment for that disorder?
No.
Exactly. So you guys are on like a super similar page there. The only reason you were thinking maybe could be yes was, and it can for providers, just not for nurses. It does not include pharmacological treatment because there are so many things that can treat these things, like disorders and such. So there's also like your axis 1, 2, 3, like all those axis things. I don't know if your teachers covered them. I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. We didn't cover them really. In my mental health course, like I think we only talked about like psychiatrists use like the axis 1 or something. I think axis 2 was like bipolar disorder or something. Oh my God, I'm getting freaking hiccups. Jesus Christ. But if your teacher tells you to know the different like axis 1, 2 through 6 or whatever, then know them. Mine didn't. So I'm not going to talk on those because I don't know about them very well. But yeah, it does. However, how can it help the nurses? How can the DSM-5 help nurses with patients? Like if you get a diagnosis from a doctor, from the DSM-5 diagnosis, like let's say they are diagnosed with schizophrenia, how does that help you? What does it help you do?
It can help us in like planning care or like evaluation, like the care plans and stuff. It can help with that.
Yep, 100%. So it can help you plan, it can help you implement. So like when you're doing the care, and it can help you evaluate the patient's progress or their progress towards whatever disease they have, right? Or mental disorder, I want to say. Diseases, disorder, whatever. So exactly, it doesn't, it's not something that we're going to put on a paper like, I'm diagnosing this patient with schizophrenia. But if they have been diagnosed with it, where are they at in that diagnosis? What symptoms are they experiencing? What kind of environment do I need to put this patient in? If they're manic bipolar, do I want to put them in a room with another manic bipolar patient or a suicidal patient? HE double hockey sticks to the no, I'm not going to do that because that's like a recipe for someone getting hurt. Similar to like a suicidal patient, I don't know if this can really go with the DSM-5, but if you have a suicidal patient, are you going to leave them in a room by themselves with like no one watching them? No, like you're going to want a one-on-one with that patient if they're suicidal. So it's knowing things like that, knowing their disorder, whatever that may be, and knowing what environment to put them in, how to plan out their care, their medications, if they consent to those, when they can't consent to medication, which we kind of talked about earlier with like the LPS or 5150, whether it be like grave disability, danger to others, danger to self, right? So, and I mean, even still, you have to look at all of those things to really fully evaluate their care and make sure you're not crossing any lines or, boundary blurring and stuff like that, right? So use those as tools to help you with your nursing process. And then we have like the ICD-10 codes, like those aren't as important. Just know like those are the kind of codes you type in for every single thing. Like when I'm at my work and stuff, I'm typing in ICD-10 codes. It's like ICD-10 codes for cough or I don't know, shortness of breath or whatever. Like it's just a code number that you type in for things like that. Coding of diseases. So signs and symptoms, cough, like I just said, abnormal findings, site complaints. NANDA, yep, we know about that. With the DSM-5 too, guys, I know we kind of talked about like not pharmacological treatment, and it helps with planning, implementing, evaluating care used by professionals. I would know those bullet points, like you probably covered them in lecture, because if you're going to have a select all apply question, probably going to be one of those. And select all apply questions in this class are not select all apply questions that you've had before at all. So, and you're going to have probably like, if your teacher is kind of similar to mine, you're probably going to have at least like 4 for each quiz. at least, like maybe 6, probably 4 at least. Don't let it scare you, because like these could be an easy gimme kind of question, you know, like shouldn't be too difficult. Just really look at your options. So yeah, NANDA, nursing diagnosis, yada, yada, yada. Oh, actual and potential problems. So we already know that, right? Your NANDA diagnosis, you have your actual, which is your, here's a diagnosis. So like, failure to thrive related to, I don't know, whatever, as evidenced by blank, blank, blank. Okay. So it's a specific problem related to another specific thing, evidenced by multiple specific things. Okay. And then your at-risk diagnosis, also known as your potential diagnosis, is what could happen if they are immobile. You know, they could possibly have pressure injury or skin deterioration or electrolyte fluid imbalance, things like that. And know those kinds of things too, guys, because those are going to come up in PA also. Like, probably not till your final, maybe, I wouldn't think, but like being able to look at something and noticing, does it have a related to and an as evidenced by, or is it a possibility? Is it a potential health problem, like an at-risk diagnosis? So knowing that difference, it seems like super simple, but it's very important, because it's an easy, it should be an easy test question. Should be one that you should have to work for. So any questions on anything we've gone over with any of that material so far? Just want to check in. All right. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't be afraid to ask, and I'll bite. Okay. So I talked about kind of like environment, right? So environment for different patients, like we're talking about schizophrenic, bipolar, suicidal patients, all of that stuff. There's very specific environments that we put people in. Does anybody know what kind of environment we technically put these types of patients in, if they're like, you know, maybe manic or
Therapeutic
suicidal?
milieu.
Yep, exactly. So just like Nathan said, therapeutic milieu environment. So what does that encompass? Like, you know, what does having a therapeutic, you know, milieu type environment look like? Does anybody want to take a shot at it? You don't have to be right either. I love wrong answers because it helps everyone learn too.
Safe and therapeutic.
So what's safe?
Like nothing that they can harm themselves with, like cords, anything sharp.
Like a communal area.
Maybe. I mean, it could be part of environment. Like, yeah, like if you want to talk about like a therapeutic environment, like depending on the patient's case severity, like, they could need, you know, like a social environment versus like an isolated environment. Cool. Anybody else have any things they want to think of with that? Or they're thinking of?
Supervised.
Yep, supervision or no supervision, right? So rounding. How often do we round for suicidal patients?
Every 15 minutes.
Which totally reminds me of like high school, those every 15 minutes, like, you know, someone dies in an alcohol-related car crash. I know I'm like smiling when I say that, but it just, I was in one back in the day, and it like brings up hilarious memories of staying in a hotel. So yeah, exactly. So like what kind of environment are they going to need to be in to be therapeutic for them? So we talked about suicidal patients and like maybe a one-on-one observation, 15-minute rounding, room safety, right? No cords, no shoelaces, no shivs, like things that they can hurt themselves with. So things like that can all pertain to the environment. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Which phases? I told you I'm not afraid to ask questions.
Like the pre-orientation, working phase, termination.
Oh yeah. Okay. I wonder if I have any. I know I have those in my my notey notes from my what you calls it. Kathy Parks cards. Like, why can't I think of the freaking name for
Yeah,
this?
do you suggest her for studying for the proctored? I know there's also like Hell of an RN, but I don't know if she makes mental health videos.
I liked them personally. So like, for example, I looked for them when it came to questions about like, I don't know, restraints, or what else did I highlight in this group of stuff? Oh, I talked about like the, holy cannoli, what the heck was it? Your defense mechanisms, and like electroconvulsive therapy, like things that I just want to brief bullet points on, because the proctored is pretty bullet pointy. Like it's not like your tests. I personally thought it was easier than most of my tests. However, I got like an average grade of what my test scores kind of were. Like I think I got an 86. Actually, no, it's not an average of what my test scores were. That's lower. But I got an 86 on the proctored, and you guys know you have to have an 85 to get a level 3 and higher, right? This one's a little higher than last term. Oh, no problem, Nathan. Take care. Yeah, I think it helped. It helped me for sure, but I want to say that I use the ATI book a little more. And to be completely honest, Teresa's quizzes, guys, help with everything. Like they helped with the proctor, they helped with my weekly quizzes, they help with the midterm, final. And you'll notice they're more lengthy than like the med-surg ones were. So, you know, don't let that discourage you. Do all 106 questions because it's going to help. But yeah, I would say the Kathy Parks cards help for these kind of, when it comes to like the different phases. Oh God, did we even have any questions on those in my class? I'm trying to think if we even talked about those much. I mean, we really didn't. And I don't know if her cards, oh, we have like secondary, primary, and tertiary prevention, which you guys are pretty cool on that, right? Like primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention, like primary being an example of like flu shot or education, secondary being like screening, early detection, tertiary being like a rehab-ish facility. If you know that, like, you're fine. Oh, orientation, working, and termination phase. I'll actually talk about those real quick because there is a card on those. And I think actually that might have been on the like 1 or 2 questions on an exam possibly. So therapeutic relationship, your phases. Okay, if you guys are writing notes, I'll try to like make this pretty clear for you. Orientation phase. So like if you are getting a brand new admission onto your floor, there's certain things you have to go over with the patient. What do you think would be a couple of those things? Like, what do you think you'd have to do during the orientation phase of the relationship? Greetings, for sure. Just walk up and be like, start doing blood pressure out of nowhere. So greetings, what else? Orient to room, assessment. Assessment isn't quite in this phase, but yes, rapport and trust. Oh my gosh, yes, for sure. And then another one, so you guys got, yeah, I mean, you could do that. That's kind of building trust and rapport, right? When you're asking why they came in, or like, you know, what brings you to the hospital today? Part of your greeting. And Middleburg, and I know a lot of other teachers are very, very big on trust and rapport. Like you should always, always, always do that first. Like if you're trying to ask a suicidal patient if they're suicidal, do you think they're going to tell you if you don't have a trust or rapport built with them? No, they're gonna be like, I don't know you, get out of my life. So orientation phase. What we said first, introduce yourself, okay? Always. Discuss confidentiality, like, you know, your HIPAA requirements. Like, you know, this is between us for your care. You know, we're not gonna like go telling your mom or whoever when they come in, like, oh, hey, my son's in here because he tried to off himself, like, yada, yada, yada. No. Okay, bye, take care. So you discuss confidentiality, and then establish expectations and boundaries. So, you know, with their disorder or, you know, whatever they have going on, certain patients, especially if they're like, I think one of the symptoms of like, I want to say like different manic problems is kind of like, what's the word for it when they're like overly flirty? Damn it, it's like leaving my head right now. But not promiscuous, but kind of like that word. Like you have to establish boundaries. Like this is a working type of relationship. Like you are there to provide a service to that patient to help them get better. You're not there to entertain their weird fantasies and like all that kind of stuff, okay? So establish expectations, set boundaries, and set goals. Oh yeah, blur boundaries, exactly. That could be totally included in that section, because if you're blurring boundaries, you're not sticking to what should have been discussed in the beginning of what that nurse-patient relationship looks like, all right? So set goals also, like, you know, our goal is to do this with your treatment to, you know, get you to an optimally functioning state. Cool, so orientation phase, that's basically it. Introduce boundaries, set goals. Okay, bye Mary, take care, I'll see you next week. Working relationship or working phase. That is when, who was it that mentioned it? That was assessment, Cindy. So when Cindy said assessment, that is when you're in the working phase of the relationship, right? No problem, Mary, take care. Did I say that? I can't see you guys, sorry, I don't have my dang glasses on either today. Anywho, so working phase, you're assessing, and then you're also checking their progress. So like, have they made progress? What's changing based on the plan that I had set in my orientation phase, right? So how well is this working in a sense? Like you're kind of evaluating what's going on in the working phase. What else does it say in here? Coping strategies, revise goals and plans. Yeah, okay, so same thing. How are they coping? What's working? What's not working? Can we revise it if it's not working? And then lastly, termination phase. When do you talk about the termination phase? Like when do you talk about that end of the relationship with a patient?
In the beginning of the relationship?
Mm-hmm. Yep, which is kind of trippy a little bit. I know people want to think like you talk about it when you're terminating, duh. Like you kind of want to discuss that in the beginning because you're planning in the beginning, right? So you're already kind of introducing them into the fact that this isn't forever. Like, you know, I'm not going home with you. Like we're not buddies. You're not going to be here for the rest of every one of my shifts. You got to plan for that end of the patient relationship from the beginning. So it can be a little tricky. Don't let the questions like that mess you up. Just know if it says like, when do you discuss termination of the nurse-client relationship? In the beginning. Because they have to plan for that. And with mentally unstable patients, it's important to make sure that you are very clear with them. Don't beat around the bush. You gotta tell them things kind of how they are. Don't offend them or anything, but like, you know what I'm talking about. So summarize goals and achievements in that stage, have them share their feelings. Like, you know, how are you feeling about leaving? How are you feeling about going home? Like, do you feel comfortable with your discharge plan? When I'm discharging patients from the hospital, one, I ask them, do you have all your belongings? Like, because everyone forgets their freaking phone chargers plugged into the wall at the hospital. It's a thing. Don't ever forget your phone charger. Happens all the time. So do you have all your belongings? And then are you comfortable with your discharge instructions? Do you know what medications you're taking? Was there any other questions you had regarding your discharge or your plan on how to get better? Because a lot of patients may have questions, but unless you go and ask them like, hey, you know, are you okay with this? Do you know what you're supposed to do when you get home? Because I'm not going to be there to do it for you. So do that in that termination phase. And then what else does it say in here? Discuss ways for them to incorporate new healthy behaviors into their life. So yeah, like your coping mechanisms that we discussed in the working phase. You know, how are you going to use the things that you learned here when you go home? Are you going to go to AA or I don't know, whatever, like Narcotics Anonymous, things like that. Like, what are you going to do that you learned here? Are you going to do your breathing techniques? Do you remember how to do them? Do you want me to show you again? Things like that. So I'm pretty sure that should pretty much cover those 3 phases in there. And then also, did you guys discuss transference and countertransference in your lecture?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. All right. So, what is, I'm trying to think of a really funny example because we always use like the most obnoxious examples. So if I'm the patient and let's say Cindy is my RN and I'm like, oh, I hate you. Remind me of my ex-boyfriend who used to like talk about me to his best friends all dirty. What am I doing?
Transference.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So now if I'm the nurse and I'm like, oh my gosh, this patient's so rude and obnoxious, reminds me of my brother. What am I doing?
That's countertransference.
Exactly. So nurse to patient is countertransference. Patient to nurse is transference. Like you're transferring like either thoughts or feelings or whatever onto someone, you know, that like it shouldn't be there. Like it's kind of reminding you of something or someone in your past, and you're transferring that negative connotation, negative energy onto somebody else. That one's a really easy one, but don't get it confused with projection. Shoot, you guys didn't even talk about those yet, so I don't even want to bring them up yet. We'll talk about them next week. It's a lot. Just do yourselves a favor if you have time and you're like, oh, I'm good with this test, we're chill. Start looking into defense mechanisms because, woo, doggy, that is going to be a lot. Okay, what else do we have here? Inpatient nursing care. Yeah, that's basic. You know what inpatient nursing care is? Like there's, yeah, we're good. Okay. Legal ethical guidelines. There's nothing there important besides ethics, bioethics, and ethical dilemma. Bioethics was the major one, which we kind of talked about a little-ish. Bioethics. So in relation to ethical dilemmas. So like when you think of bioethics, it's like, is this right or wrong kind of based on like how I've perceived things to be, right? So like you thinking it's right or wrong may not be the same as Nancy thinking it's right or wrong. You know, like everyone has bio and ways they contribute things ethically, right? So ethics in a sense, philosophical beliefs, right and wrong. Like you could talk about deontology or, you know, all those things I'm learning about now again in med ethics. Like those aren't the same for everybody. Oh yeah, you could think about with that too, like abortion and stem cells, or like how stem cells can be very beneficial to cure certain diseases or cancer and stuff. But some people don't think it's ethical because that comes from like the umbilical cord or whatnot of unborn babies. Or maybe babies who like were either aborted or something went wrong, maybe stillbirth, who knows. So some people see that as unethical because they don't believe that you should take that from a, you know, fetus or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it's called in certain stages when they take the stem cells. But yeah, it could be like that. Maybe some people don't see that as ethical, but you see it that way. Just like ethical dilemma. What do you think a dilemma is? It's a conflict, right? You're having a dilemma with which one do I choose? Like this one I think is maybe ethical, or this one I think maybe is kind of morally not right, but like maybe I shouldn't tell the cancer patient that they have like 3 days to live because I just want them to enjoy it, you know? Things like that. Those shouldn't be hard for you guys to decipher. It's just kind of like obvious. You look at the prefix, the suffix, what is it saying, you know? But the 5 principles of bioethics, those you should know. And they also should sound very similar to what like, or very familiar, I should say, for what you've learned. I think I learned these in funds, honestly, maybe even before that. Does anyone want to say what some principles of bioethics are? I'll give you a hint. Like duty or justice. Things like that. Actually, shoot. I almost cursed again. Justice is one of them. Don't say justice.
Was that like fidelity, veracity, non-maleficence, or I think that's the same thing as
Fidelity.
Beneficence.
Yep. All of those. Autonomy, fidelity, beneficence. So beneficence, like your duty to promote good. Like you have a duty to do good, whatever. Autonomy, respecting the rights of others to make their own decisions. Now, here's the trick with these guys. Look these up and how they can relate to mental health, because it is different than what you kind of knew before. So like with autonomy, here's an example. A patient denies medication. If a nurse, is working with a patient who denies medication, they are following the autonomy principle. Like they are letting that patient make their own decisions for their care. That's autonomy. And I thought it was something totally different. I thought it was like, I don't know, doing no harm. I don't know. I think maybe it was veracity that I picked on that when I was like, oh, dumb. Like I didn't think autonomy when I thought the patient was denying medication. Like to me, that just kind of didn't really fit, but that's what it is. As an example. So look up examples of all of those. I don't have examples for every single one, but I do have some. So I'll share those with you. I don't really have a good one for beneficence. Justice, distribute. Oh, that was a weird one. Okay, justice, like in mental health, it could be kind of like, so it's distributing resources or care equally. I think that one was talking about like, I want to say like giving a sandwich to somebody, or like letting some patients, I don't know, it was giving a sandwich or giving a cigarette to somebody. It was one of those weird things. Like, it was so funky. But if you're going to do something for one person, you have to do it for the other. You have to be equal. You can't just deny one patient something and give it to the other, because that's not just, that's not right. It was such a weird, kind of like give it to everyone. So like distribute them equally. Like everything should be equal for the patients. Oh yeah, it was, right? It was like a sandwich or cigarettes. I can't remember which one it was. It was super funky. But yeah, I remember that one. I should have wrote it down. I should write these things down a little bit better. My notes they're decent, but they're not that great. Then fidelity or non-maleficence, which kind of reminds me of Maleficent, like that crazy cartoon thingy. So maintaining loyalty and commitment, or doing no wrong to a patient. This is kind of like, if you're saying, I'll get back to you in 1 hour, you are going to get back to that patient in an hour. Like you are following through with what you said. You're maintaining what you said to that patient. So I'm not going to tell you like, hey, nurse sick, I'm going to go and like check on some other patients, but I'll be back with you in like 15 minutes to check your blood pressure. And then I like never show up the rest of the shift. And you're like, wow, that was freaking rude. Like she never came back. Not going to trust her again. So being able to, exactly like what she was saying, like keep your promises, show up and maintain your loyalty and commitment to what you said to the patient. And also as even students, like I'm kind of bad at this when I'll tell someone like, oh yeah, I'll send it to you later. And then I'm like total dodo bird brain and I forget. That's kind of not keeping my promise. And then I feel like a bad person or a bad friend or whoever, because I didn't follow through with what I said. So it could relate in that sense if it helps you remember it that way, like doing what you said you were going to do. Then veracity. And we know what veracity is?
Telling the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So being truthful. So I locked a patient in a seclusion room when I didn't have an order to lock them in a room, but I didn't document it. Am I following the principle of veracity? No.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying it because you talked about it.
No, like if I lock a patient in a seclusion room without having a doctor order and I don't document that I did that, I am not following the principle of veracity because I'm not telling the truth. Just like if you tell a nurse, this is really important for us as future nurses too, because I hear about it all the time in the hospital. If I sign for you like I'm your witness for you wasting opiates, like morphine. Like let's say you don't finish the vial of morphine for your patient, and I'm watching you waste it, and I just walk away and don't actually see you doing that. I can't say that I followed that principle because I didn't watch you do it. I just like bounced and said like, keep it, pocket it, whatever, I don't care, like I'm gonna leave. That's not truthful, right? Like a Mendoza, kind of like a Mendoza error. Like if you have a Mendoza error and you don't say anything about it, like that's not following that principle either. So just kind of look and see how they fit with mental health, and that could help you out. I want to say this was a select all, maybe. Civil rights of mental health persons. Do you guys remember talking about civil rights of mental health persons? Like right to humane treatment and care, right to vote, things like that? I know, right to vote, that was in there. Yeah, weird. I'll just, driver's license, is that, oh yeah. Rights related to obtaining and denying a driver's license. Right to due process, which, shoot, someone mentioned it earlier, I can't remember who it was, but that one was in there. Informed consent, we talked about like informed consent for giving and getting, or administering, receiving medications, being administered medications. That's in there. So let's see, right to humane treatment and care, right to vote, rights related to obtaining or denying a driver's license, right to due process, informed consent, and then confidentiality. So like, that was actually, I think, important too. Like HIPAA, like confidentiality post-death. Like, can you just release someone's information after they die? Can you not release it? Things like that. HIV status. Yeah. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Treatment, care, voting, driver's license, due process, informed consent, confidentiality. Yeah. Yeah, I know I had that one for sure. You may not, you never know, guys. Like these things that we talk about, you may have like a different part of it, but still important. You're going to see it one way or another. There's also something, do you guys remember talking about like, maybe they gave an example of like, if another nurse in the hallway is talking crap about nurse A, who are you going to tell? Like, or what do you do about it?
Yeah, I think Professor Middleberg said you report it to the manager. And then whereas if it's two people discussing patient information in the hallway, then you would first of all tell them to stop, and then afterwards you would report it, I think.
Exactly that. So I figured you'd probably give that example too, because that was a good one. Like if other nurses are talking about another staff member or something like that, like that's, that's pretty serious. You're not just gonna go up to them and be like, hey, stop. Like, I don't know, nurses are kind of like cliquey sometimes from what I've seen. So like, I wouldn't just go jump up to them and be like, stop talking about that person, because then you might be next on the chopping block. So it's best to get the manager involved. Whereas if, like you said, you're in an elevator and they're talking about another patient or something like that, like that's a HIPAA violation. Like you don't just go blabbing about patient information, in public spaces like that. And realistically, you kind of shouldn't unless you're consulting and maybe at the nurse's station or like in another room or like somewhere more private. But yeah, different situations call for different actions. So yeah, that confidentiality exceptions. Oh my gosh, did he tell you that super sad story about the girl who was murdered and the guy had been telling people that he was going to kill her and he ended up doing it and they didn't tell her, warn her? Oh gosh, that was so sad. Okay. So yeah, there's certain confidentiality exceptions that were put into law now because of situations like that. Like, let's say I have Psycho X, which I do have a Psycho X, ironically. But like, let's say my Psycho X is threatening to murder me. right? And he's telling people, he told people at the hospital, or he told like his school teacher or something. And no one warns me that, you know, he was saying those things like, I'm gonna murder her. And I get killed. Like, that's so not cool, and that's so sad. That's why they have these things in place that we're like mandatory reporters for certain things. And I'm pretty sure that kind of like falls into the exception of patient confidentiality. Like, if he's telling his therapist that he's gonna murder me, I know it seriously really happened. It's so sad. If he's telling his therapist that he's gonna murder me, like, they have a duty to warn me that he's threatening to kill me, right? That's just how. No, it's, actually, you know, I don't know how that fits into torts, because torts, you think of like assault and battery, slander, libel. Okay, I wouldn't really think of it as a tort. This one's kind of more in a confidentiality realm of things. That's how we were talking.
On one of the torts said that like failure to warn potential victims, would that not be?
Ooh. You know, I do have my little thingy-mabobby here. Okay, let's see. Intentional torts. Assault. Nurse threatens patient. Battery. Nurse hits patient or administers medication. False imprisonment. Unintentional torts. Negligence, like forgetting to set a bed alarm. Malpractice. Medication error. Okay, I don't have it in my notes, so I'm not sure. If you saw it, then maybe you could count it as part of that.
I'll ask him during the review.
Huh?
I'll ask him during the review.
Yeah, let me know, because
Great area.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it's a funky one. Like, assault can be verbal, whereas battery, like, you straight hit somebody. And that'll come up too. That might actually be not this one in particular, but like, let's say a patient like is threatening to like hit a nurse. Does he actually do it? Does he not do it? You know, which one does that fall into? So I would know the difference and like the boundary on those two. But with this one particularly, definitely ask him about it, and then let me know what he comes up with, because I'm curious.
Yeah.
But for sure, patient confidentiality exceptions, like you have a duty to warn and protect these people, not only with like potential tort is a civil law.
Okay, somebody killed, it's more like a crime than a tort.
Like, you're not going to get arrested. Well, I don't want to say you're not going to get arrested. Like, there's still going to be repercussions for you as a nurse. It's not like you straight killed him, but like you not reporting that, like you are also held somewhat liable for a crime that could have possibly happened.
It's more like what the nurse will get, not the person who is saying. I got confused by that.
Oh, yeah. So like in this case, what I'm talking about is like the nurse's duty to make these things known.
Right.
Yeah. And like the provider or like the therapist or whoever is a medical professional, like we are required, like as part of our job description, to be mandatory reporters of certain things, which hint, know what things you have to be mandatory reporters for. This is one of them, like duty to warn and report, you know, if someone's like threatening to kill somebody. Also, if a child, handicapped person, or like vulnerable elderly person is being abused, like domestic violence or child abuse, you are also required to report those things. So go back in your notes or in your book or wherever and remember to review what you are required to report, because that's important. It's not very many. It's like those things we just discussed. But you have to report those. Like that's your job. Even if you don't, like maybe you're just suspicious, like, oh, this child has this. Maybe discuss it with the charge nurse. Be like, hey, I'm seeing this kind of stuff going on. You know, what do you think is the best move? Because like, let's say you're just scared to accuse someone. Like you're not going up to the dad and being like, you hit your kid because the kid fell off a bike. Maybe they did fall off a bike. Who knows? But it's up to you to, you know, make those decisions and be smart enough to advocate for people who can't advocate for themselves sometimes. So What else do we have? I'm trying to see. Oh, when can you give medications if patient refuses? What are the situations? We totally talked about these in the beginning. Like even the patient doesn't. Go for it. Did you say Reese?
I said Reese petition.
Perfect.
If it's an
So the
emergency situation, so like danger to self, danger to others.
Yep. One other one.
GD.
One other one.
LPS, the Lantern and Petra short conservatorship.
Yep. Perfect. All of those. So emergency situations, danger to self, others, grave disability, like it's an emergency. Something's happening. They need it. Others, the Reese hearing, which we talked about earlier. So the medication capacity hearing. Like whether there's, the results of that hearing, whether there's cause or no cause to give them the medications. And then Lantern and Petra short. So like the conservatorship, like I guess Brittany's dad or whatever. Wish I had more examples of that because Middleburg gave a lot. I just didn't write all of them down. Cool. Oh, and then restraints. I know we don't have much time left, so I'll just give you a couple little things to go over. Restraints for sure. Know what classifies as a restraint. If you give a medication to a patient, like let's say Haldol to a patient, is that considered like maybe a restraint if that patient wasn't prescribed it earlier? If so, what kind of restraint is it? What's it classified as? Yep. Boom. Chemical restraint. So there can be multiple kinds of restraints. Restraints don't always have to be physical. Or it could be physical in a sense of you putting someone, like I said earlier, in a seclusion room that they weren't supposed to be in. Oh, well, we were out of rooms on the unit, and so I had to put them in this room. Like, if the door is open, okay, if you put them in a seclusion room, but the door is open, is that considered a restraint? You can just guess. You don't have to know it. Boom, correct. No, it's not because the door is open. You're not closing the door on them, like locking them in there. You're just putting them in a room with an open door, like you would any other room. So just really look into those questions, guys, and like pick out what it's really asking. Cool. So seclusion will involve confinement alone in a room, physically prevented from leaving. So you lock them in there. There's no way they can get out. That's restraining them. You obviously have to have a doctor's order for restraints. Of course, you can administer them initially, but you need to get the restraint in a certain amount of time. What is the amount of time that you need to get a restraint order?
Is it like 15 to 30 minutes?
Give me your best guess. So one says 15 to 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
I'm just asking you guys just for funsies. It's within 30 minutes, like 15 to 30 minutes. Like 30 minutes is your max. Like you have 30 minutes to get the order for the restraint, and you have to get it renewed every 24 hours. Is there such a thing called a PRN, prescription for restraints?
No.
Exactly, there is not. So just things like that, they're pretty common sense when you like really kind of think about it, but at first it can be a lot of information. So know those. You also have to have a one-on-one observation for a lot of those patients. Like if you're on restraints, you need an observation, like especially because you have to make sure circulations, all intact and such, for sure. So then review your torts. We kind of talked about assault and battery a little bit, defamation of characters like slander, libel. What else? Yeah, civil wrong for which money damages or monetary damage, I don't know, whatever, may be collected by insured party. I hate, this is my worst part. I cannot stand going over like Freud and Erikson and all those kinds of things. I would just, if I were you, kind of have an idea when it comes to like Freud. Actually, shoot, do we even have anything on Freud? I would just know like psychoanalytic theory, like what that's talking about. Like he's talking about like pre-conscious, conscious, unconscious, like just that really weird stuff. Like wasn't he the one with like the mom and like little, so weird. I don't like talking about those things. Like it's just funky. Yeah, ego. Ego, id, super ego, all that kind of weird junk. And then Erikson, know the stages. for Erickson. So like trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt. And I'm pretty sure a question on that was on the proctored, and I want to say it was the old people one. Like, oh my God, what was it? It was, shoot, the heck was it? Integrity versus despair was the one I remembered, which is like 65 plus. So I would know the names and like roughly the ages. I mean, the first few aren't very important, but I would say like maybe, well, I don't know. For this test, I wouldn't dive too deep into it, but I would try like to keep like learning about them kind of as you go, because definitely that 65 plus one, the integrity versus despair, for sure. And then maybe like intimacy versus isolation or identity role confusion, those kinds of things. Yeah, the oldest one meaning like integrity versus despair, like 65 plus age people. And then there's a lot of other names on here, which I know I got a couple test questions here or there with. I mean, like I say with some of these things, like certain ones we spend more time on because they're more important. Other ones, like, yeah, like it's a question here or there, but it's not as crazy. So just when I say that, I don't mean don't look at it. I just mean like don't spend 5 hours on it. So with that being said, other people such as like Peplau, his theory of interpersonal relationships in nursing, like you don't really need to go crazy. Oh, actually, that was a girl, Peplau. Yeah, stages of the nurse-patient relationship. That was a girl. Science of nursing, application of knowledge. I think she was the first one to create like a nursing-patient relationship thing, if I remember right. Is that right? Peplau, the lady? Yeah. I hope so. God,
Yeah,
otherwise
I think you're right.
I'm like, okay, cool. I was supposed to say, otherwise I sound real dumb.
She talks about like the importance of the patient-nurse relationship and how like the nurse can help the patient.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So like that lady, Middleburg likes her a lot. And then like, but not in depth. Like if you just know that she was the one who talked about the, science of nursing, application of knowledge from like nurses to patients, you're good. Pavlov, classical conditioning, Watson's behaviorism theory with the rat and the child. Skinner's operant conditioning, rat with a box of cheese. Like either you get a reward or you get shocked. It's so crazy to me, all these like tests they used to do. Like, for PA, I had Reyes. I had her for intro too. She was fun.
I'm so jealous. She doesn't teach this term.
Oh, she was so fun. She's just easy, but she's a good teacher. I liked her a lot. She's nice. All of them are so easy though. Well, not easy, but PA as a whole, it's not a bad class. Like it's literally your head to toe assessment in a little more detail. Like no one should have a problem with PA. And if you do, come see me and I'll help you because I'll help you. So yeah, that's basically it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, Beck, I would take note of that. And when I say take note of Beck's cognitive behavioral theory, take negative irrational thoughts, change them to rational thoughts. If you know that, you're Gucci. Yeah, systematic desensitization. It's like addressing patient fears, aversion therapy. I know we covered that, like punishment for bad behavior and biofeedback, listening to your body. Those kinds of things, I would just kind of know the general like topic of it. So like aversion, like punishment for your bad behavior, like you'll talk about that a little more probably later. And then if you're in like TAN's class or something like that, when it comes to maladaptive and adaptive behavior, definitely go over those because you're gonna see those. We didn't talk about it as much in Middleburg's. Like I think I maybe had like 1 or 2 questions on that, and I definitely got them wrong because I didn't really look into them, but that's my own fault. So, And then that, oh my gosh, you guys, that is it. That was the end of everything that you needed. And then real quick, before I ask for questions, when it comes to torts, let's look at my review thing here. Know the different torts like assault, battery, false imprisonment, defamation of character, which is like slander, libel, and invasion of privacy, like looking at a patient chart that's not yours. So know those 5. Like those are the 5 ones for intentional torts. I said like towards, like it's like a, I don't know, that was weird. But yeah, I think that's it. That was actually completely it. Holy crap, we covered a lot and we started like 30 minutes late. Does anybody have questions? What do we have going on?
I have a question. What were you saying about the maladaptive and adaptive? Like just now you just said it. I didn't.
So like maladaptive and adaptive, and like those are a little funky. I guess the like simplest way to say them is like maladaptive can be unlearned, whereas like adaptive can be learned. Like adaptive, it's like you are learning behavior based on a situation, like you are adapting in some way to it. Maladaptive, it's almost like the negative of that. Like, yeah, it can be unlearned, but it's like positive habits can also be changed into negative ones, I think is how I remember. Like, it's like a negative reaction to like a positive or versus a positive one. I'm trying to think of like how, we didn't go over it really in my class, but let me see, because I guarantee you it's probably in my Happy Parks cards.
I just found an example. It was like maladaptive coping strategies, such as increasing consumption of alcohol.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like, yeah, you're adapting in a negative way, like not the way you should be adapting. Do you go through Success Book every week or only when you? It's really tough, guys. Like I'm weird with studying. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I didn't study as much as I probably should have. Mostly because I'm a pretty good test taker, generally. But I would say I use the Success Book almost weekly. I use Teresa's quizzes every week. I use the end of the book chapter questions almost weekly. It just depends. Like I did hundreds of questions every week, like at least 100 every week, if not maybe 2. Because I get so distracted with stuff, as you could probably tell from this like 2-hour session. So I can't just sit there and read like a lot of people can. I just can't do that. So I have to I'll do like 20 questions here, and then I'll go like walk around mindlessly or something. And then I'll like sit back down, do their 20 questions, get up, get like a sparkling water or something. And then, you know, just give myself breaks. But I mostly just did questions and reviewed the lecture and my notes. Like I always get a new binder for every term. I wish I had like one of those iPads you could write your notes on, because that would be so clutch right now. But that's kind of how I studied. I did a lot of questions from all of the different books, and really, really paid attention to his lecture to the point where I'm like stopping, starting, writing notes, highlighting stuff. And his review session, oh guys, it's so good. So like, come prepared. If you can come to PALS prepared next week too. Like I know some of you guys definitely had some topics like you wanted to cover. But do yourselves a favor and like help me help you with things that you don't quite get. And if I don't know it, we'll look it up together. I have so much material here that we can look through. So yeah, we'll do that. Oh shoot, did everyone sign in? Did I give everyone the QR code? If not, say yes in the chat box and I'll pull it up again. So yeah, I would say I went through at least 1 to 2 resources of questions every single week. In addition to watching the lecture 1 very, very thorough time, or 2, like I'm kind of paying attention, but not fully times, if that makes sense. next week at the holiday. Oh yeah, I forgot. Next week's Labor Day. Technically, they tell me that I'm not supposed to tutor, but I'm gonna tutor anyways, just because it's a holiday on Monday doesn't mean you don't have class on Tuesday or Wednesday. So, and even still, like, I'm super flexible, guys. Like, I have a lot. This term's a lot worse than last because I work and I volunteer and I have clinical and my own stuff. But I can always make time. So if you want to meet one-on-one, if you want to just FaceTime me or something, y'all have my number. So you can just like call me or email me or whatever. And like last term I tutored week 8 when tutoring ended week 7, but I tutored week 8 so people could study for finals. So just let me know. Like if you need extra help or time, just reach out and I'm more than happy to work with you guys. So keep me updated. If you don't ask a question, I don't know what's going on. So besides that, anything else before y'all go for the night? And I've kept you for quite a while.
I had a question. So do you know which tutor had tan by any chance?
Which tutor had 10? No problem, guys, anytime. Let's see, who had 10? Let me look at the list real quick because I have everyone. You're welcome, guys. I hope to see you all next week too, because I'm telling you this will be beneficial, I promise.
Hi, Karlie.
Okay. Hi.
I just joined the class. I wasn't aware that there is a class today. I asked several students. They weren't aware as well. And I haven't received anything. Where was the link?
They just sent it out, like, unfortunately, 20 minutes after tutoring started at 2 p.m. So it was like maybe around 2:30 that they sent it out, which was kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to drop the link. Oh, wait. Well, obviously, you guys all have the link now. But, gosh, that's so frustrating. They did that.
Next week is going to be the same link?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's going to be the same link. Oh, so the questions I did, Tanner, those are actually ones that I made up in my head or did from my notes because that's just kind of how I roll. And I also remembered questions that were very similar, or like I asked questions very similar to what I've had on tests. So those are just questions based on information I've gotten. I just literally got bit by 2 mosquitoes and my door's not even open. I'm going to wreck this house right now. And okay, as far as TAN's going, sorry, I totally got off track. TAN's class tutors, let's see. Shoot. Well, I don't know Megan Gutierrez, who tutors on Wednesday. I don't know Sophia Santana, who teaches or tutors on Thursdays. They could be in TAN's class. They could not be. But if you weren't here earlier, I also mentioned that all the teachers share material and tests and stuff. So just because I wasn't in Tan's class doesn't mean I don't have a lot of friends who I got a lot of his material or like study information from. Oh, and the same for you, because I know it's late and I'm so sorry that they didn't send it out earlier. They're posting it onto YouTube, the PALS West Coast LA. I think it's like WCU-LA PALS or PALS WCU-LA. They're posting the links to all of these tutoring sessions during the weekend, like after this tutoring session. So like it'll be this coming weekend, they're going to post it, which I know is kind of like backwards because you probably are getting tested on the information this week, like in the next couple of days.
It's late because we have a... So I need to be like posted tonight or tomorrow because we have a quiz on Wednesday. What's the use if we get it on weekend?
Let me see.
At least they can post.
I'm gonna see. Let's see.